So with this terrifying worldwide spread, let's take a step back and look at some of the key characteristics of the virus, beginning with its base reproduction rate. This is reflected in a value called R naught, which stands for the basic reproduction number. This number is critical to the infectiousness of any illness. Let's look at R for the most infectious of diseases, measles. With measles, one person may affect 12 to 18 others. Polio and mumps are also highly contagious, infecting up to 7 other people. Now let's look at corona. This is spread by airborne droplets, and the R value may be between 1.4 and 3.9, although the standard value used is 2.2. As we will see, this number can change depending on the control measures used. The idea is to get it below 1. Now let's look at a bit more detail. The base reproduction number describes the contagiousness or transmissibility of infections, like corona. Fortunately, this is not biologically constant as we have seen. The R naught value describes the secondary cases one would expect to see in a completely susceptible population with no immunity. For every case detected, however, there may be as many as 10 undetected cases, explaining why corona has spread so far and wide. To decrease the R value, social distancing has the greatest impact. Although corona does live on surfaces, there aren't any proven cases, and it's believed that most transmission is airborne when an individual coughs or sneezes who has the virus. The only way to overcome the epidemic is by suppressing it through isolation. So to review, R naught is the average number of people that are infected, and if the R is less than 1, the epidemic will die out. If R is 1, there won't be an outbreak, but the disease will stay alive and stable, which worries many public health experts. So with corona, an R of 1 would keep the virus in the population without an increase in numbers unless the virus mutates or dies out. When R naught is greater than 1, each existing infection causes more than one new infection, leading to an outbreak or epidemic. You can see on the right how R values increase and become more and more infectious, from Ebola and hepatitis on the low end to measles at the upper end. Control measures are necessary to decrease the R value. With no control, you can see a massive increase in infections across the U.S. in this New York Times map. With some in the middle, you can see more moderate spread. And finally, with severe measures like those used in China and Wuhan, you can see a dramatic containment of new cases. Here is how this would translate into new cases. The red spike reflecting no measure, the yellow with some measures, and the blue with severe measures. The chart reflects new cases every day. Over time, the New York Times shows how much spread to expect by April, May, and June for each of the 3 control measures: no intervention, some control, and severe measures. The key focus of dampening the number of new cases is keeping the caseload low and within the confines of a healthcare system's ability to treat all patients who might survive. So the strategies are mitigation, which slows but doesn't stop the epidemic, or suppression, where the R value is reduced to less than 1. Again, that means that each infected individual infects less than one other person. There's still a lot to be learned about the transmission of corona, especially with a large number of undetected cases. Schools double the per capita contact, and so most school systems have closed in many affected areas.